If you work in SEO, then most likely you know the struggle that you have a lot of keywords in your Google Search Console and some are ranking on a quite good position. Some of them might be not interesting at all for your website, but there are also queries where it makes sense to create new content for it. And usually finding these content gaps takes hours and even more if you have a lot of search traffic. If you do it manually, then you have to check all your queries, look at the specific page and ask yourself, do I optimize this page for a query or does it make sense to create a new article for that? Since this process can be quite tedious and also time consuming, I decided to build an N8N workflow that takes care of finding content gaps for you, which means this workflow is connected to your Google Search Console in order to pull accurate data from your specific website. It takes also care of reading the content from a specific page in order to give you recommendations if you should optimize a specific query for the current page or if a keyword is a potential candidate for a new piece of content. Before we jump into the logic of these two workflows as well as into the Google spreadsheet that is required for that, let me show you where you can find all of them. And it is available within my community under this classroom here. And in case you're interested also in other workflows that help you to create new content, optimize content, or also in general analyze every aspect of your website, then these workflows are the right ones for you. All right, then let's have a look into the two workflows that are responsible for creating this report here. And the first workflow is used for gathering all the data so that we can pass it to the workflow that generates the content gap analysis. In this case, I have a really simple Google spreadsheet that contains information such as the URL, language, and also the days. So as example, we would analyze this page and it's written in this language. And the analysis will take data from the last 90 days. And there's also a second sheet, which is quite easy because it just contains the domain and also the BigQuery table name. And that is exactly the data that we have also in these two nodes here. And after that, we merge the data so that we have an array where each element has a key for the URL, language, days, and also for the BigQuery table. And the reason why I have separated the workflow that takes care of gathering the data from the workflow that is responsible for generating the report is the fact that if we separate the logic, then you are able to use this workflow from any other source. As an example, you don't have to use Google Spreadsheets. You could also use Airtable, NocoDB, or for instance, would be also possible to use your sitemap as long as the data that is passed to the workflow has the following structure. So it requires an object with data, which holds an array, and every element has the four keys, as I mentioned, URL, language, days, and also search data URL impression. So in other words, this is kind of an adapter that could be also replaced with any other data source, which means that the actual logic is within this workflow here. And the first step that happens is that we split out the data so that we have just a single array with all the pages that we want to analyze. Because in the next step, we will loop over every page for the content by using Zerpa, so that the large language model has also context for the given keywords. Next to that, we also execute a custom SQL query, which holds variables for the URL, the days we want to analyze, and of course also for the BigQuery table. And what makes this query really, really nice is that it works for any page because it does not have any hard-coded thresholds. And instead, it calculates all the thresholds based on the performance for a specific page. That means you can use this query for pages where you have just a few queries, but also for pages where you have a lot of search data. And in order to find only low-hanging fruits, we exclude data from the first page and only keep data where the queries are between the position 10 and 60. But in case you want to customize it, then you can simply change these values here. After that, there are a few if nodes because it might be possible that there is no search data for a specific page, and then this page will be skipped, which makes this workflow cost effective because if there is no search data, then you won't be able to generate recommendations for content gaps. And instead of hitting the API from any large language model, we just pass the data back and continue with the next page. The logic for checking if a keyword should be better integrated in an article or might be a potential candidate for a new page is inside this node here. So in a nutshell, we pass data such as the target language, the title, meta description, and the complete content from the article. And of course, data that was extracted in the previous node where we fetch data from BigQuery. And the process is quite simple. it reads the content from your page, and then it checks if the current content meets the user intent from the specific query, or if it's something completely different, it makes sense to create a new page. In order to be able to also generate a structured report here, we have also a structured output parser that takes care of making sure that the structure has always the keys keyword is valid new content idea and also justification. So if we map this keyword here, let's check it right in the report, and then we can see we have the keyword, the flag if this keyword is a potential candidate for a new page, including the justification, but we also include the impressions, clicks, click-through rate, and also the position. And for that, the workflow takes care of merging the data from the big query node with the data that is returned by the large language model. That means we have at the end the keys potential new topic, word count, impressions, clicks, position, and so forth. And the reason why I included word count is because if you take this data in another workflow, then you would be also able to split the data into long tail keywords and also short term keywords. Once every page is analyzed, this loop will end and pass the data to a code node where the logic for generating this report here is included. And to make the workflow even more reliable, we don't include any styles in this code node, and instead all the styles and also JavaScript is placed in the HTML template. And the last two nodes are really simple. We take the HTML content, convert it to a file, and eventually upload it to Google Drive. And here's the result from the previous execution. On the left, we have all the different pages. So let's say I want to check the page, never miss a D-index page. Then I can click on it and can directly see if it makes sense to take any of these keywords where the flag is optimized for improving the current content, or if there are any other keywords that I could use as a focus keyword for a new page. And let's have a look into another example. Let's take this one. This product is about a workflow that helps you to analyze the performance of your pages and also of your keywords. And apparently, it's also ranking for the keyword N8N image analysis, which is something completely different. So that means for me, I could create content and try to target this specific keyword. And since I'm already ranking for it with another page, the chances are quite good that I will rank even better if I create a dedicated page for it. And that's it regarding the workflow that helps me to spot new keywords without spending a minute in my Google Search Console and extracting the data and also analyzing it. And in case you have any questions related to this workflow here or also to this workflow, then feel free to add them to the comments. And we will see each other in the next video.